Welcome back to episode 2 of the Wallace project. At the end of the last episode, we submerged into the ocean depths, and found evidence of genetic code molecules, RNA in the seawater. We then decided to take the ship into hibernation, so that we could jump forward in time about 3 billion years. Our people are just now coming out of deep sleep and we are eager to see what awaits us on this planet. How has the planet changed after this enormous lapse in time? Over 3 billion years, the continental plates moved and pushed into each other, forcing up chains of mountains. At the same time the planet's crust cooled, and ice caps formed. The weight of the ice caps, on the north and south poles stabilized the wobbly spinning of the planet into a stable sequence of seasons. Our sensors detect a change in the composition of the atmosphere. The amount of oxygen has increased and the amount of toxic gases has decreased. It looks like the toxic gases were absorbed in the seawater and then became fixed in sedimentary rocks. We can also see unusual stripes of color around the coastlines. Green, red and pink. Our crew is excited to take a closer look. First we send a team of divers out into the sea in the open ocean. We find that the sea water is teeming with microbial life. Heterotrophic bacteria metabolizing chemicals dissolved in the water, as well as a range of larger photosynthetic autotrophs, that is microbes that can convert light into chemical energy. These are very similar to the phytoplankton of Earth, but with a few differences. This large microbe here has two different kinds of chloroplasts, green ones for absorbing white light and dark red ones that seem to function optimally in infrared light. This must be an optimization to be able to operate under the different quality of light under the Wallace star, and then when Echo is orbiting Sarawak, the dwarf red star. We will call the large photoplankton on the left Magna viridis, and the smaller red microbe will be called Parvus rubrum. One of our divers is taking a look at the ecosystem in person. On the sea floor we can see sedentary filter feeder animals, sponges and some sessile worm-like creatures. There also seem to be large kelp-like plants growing from the rocky substrate in the distance. Around our diver we see modal, free-swimming pink creatures that show bilateral symmetry. We will take a look at each of these organisms in depth. This is a Coralia Fibrosa. It can be described as being like a dome-shaped coral, except the coral skeleton is not brittle or stone-like at all. It has some flex to it like a wicker basket. For this reason we will refer to this as a basket coral. This species releases male and female gametes into the water column periodically. More specifically, the gametes are released in the deep winter when the planet Ecco is in transit between the Wallace star and Sarawak. During this period many organisms on Echo go into a hibernation or torpor state. The fertilized eggs of the basket coral are given a window of opportunity in which they can swim directionally towards locations on the seabed that have rocky surfaces for them to attach to and colonize. This is the largest organism our divers have currently found. It is very common around the coastlines and has a range of morphological variations. This is the Nervosphaera, the tetherweed. It is a kelp-like autotroph that can facultatively switch its chloroplast composition to favor the light conditions that are prevalent. This results in the plant shifting its color, from green to purple depending on the season and on which star the planet is orbiting. Wallace having white light, and Sarawak being a red dwarf with the spectrum shifted towards the red and infrared. For simplicity I will refer to this as being a plant. This plant has adapted its rhizoid to encapsulate rocks and pebbles. This adaptation gives the plant more stability during the Echo tide storms, and by tying the rocks down, the plant is less likely to be damaged by rogue stones in the current of a storm. You can also see how the Nervosphaera actively creates a network of mangrove-like root that connects separate individual plants together. This is also to increase the strength of the plant. On the seabed we find the Scutum stellata, or shield star. This radially symmetrical animal resembles an anemone on Earth. It has feathery appendages for filter feeding on the suspended plankton in the water. The body is shielded by calcareous shell plates that encircle the arms. During low tides or when the animal is agitated, the feathery arms can retract down into a burrow in the sediment. Then the shell plates contract, locking down in place, pulled into place by muscle fibers. Here is a cross-section of the scutum stellata. The graphic shows the arrangement of plates around the arms, and how the long ragworm-like body continues down into the burrow. These animals that burrow into the sediment are important for mixing the layers of nutrients in the sediment, making them available to the larger autotrophs like the kelp-like organism. Without this action, the ecology would stagnate over time as nutrient cycles would fail. Here you can see how the animal looks after the arms have been retracted, and the shell plates are locked down, protecting the soft-bodied creature from damage. The tides on Planet Ecco are powerful and can hurl debris and roll rocks around over the sea floor. Because of this, animals living in these conditions need to defend themselves, or find a way to roll with the turbulent conditions. Free swimming in the sea, we find a squid-like animal that exhibits bilateral symmetry. It appears to be filter feeding through its lateral gill slits. It has 3 basic compound eyes on stalks. Closer inspection reveals that these eyes are capable of seeing light and dark, and silhouettes of objects, nothing more complicated than that. It also has 5 cartilaginous tentacles next to a siphon pump that helps propel it through the water, in addition to fish-like fins. This creature has to work hard to swim against the strong tides. We will call this creature Siphon Robustus. It is unusual to see such a highly evolved creature in the absence of any predators. Siphon robustus has a bilateral symmetry, an oral and aboral polar end, as well as a dorsal and ventral, or top and bottom. This diagram shows the animal in detail. We follow some individual Siphon robustus. We waited and observed, and all was revealed as the high tides flowed to our location. The tides swelled the sea level an additional 30 meters. A small increase in the flow of the sea water surged into a powerful torrent. Our divers made their way back into the ship. We left behind robotic probes to observe the marine life. The Siphon robustus used all their strength to swim against the torrent. Using their primitive eyes, they swam downwards to the sea floor and used their 5 reinforced tentacles to grasp onto the holdfast root structures of the kelp. Some did the same, but latched onto a domed coral-like structure. We even observed them attaching onto other Siphon robustus, in a bid not to be swept away by the power of the tide, and end up beached inland. Washed up on the strand line, we see those animals that were not fit enough to escape the power of the tides of Planet Ecco. On this planet, at least for now, it is not predators accelerating evolution but the tides of the planet itself. But nothing goes to waste in nature. These remains will be broken down by microbes, or create a niche for scavengers. This diagram illustrates the ecological interactions that exist between the different trophic levels at this point in time. Remember that each of these species is a representative of many similar species within its clade or family group. The phototrophic microbes form the base of the food chain with microscopic plankton that includes the free-swimming infant stages of the basket coral and scutum stellata. There are no predators in these primordial oceans at this time. The nervosphere also seems to grow without fear of being grazed on by herbivores either. The nervosphere benefits from the community by increased sediment fertility and aeration, as water can pass through the tunnels created by burrowing organisms. The community of animals benefit from the kelpweed by its oxygenation of the water, and its roots creating stable, safe habitats. Thank you for sticking with us this far. On board our ship we have the genomes of many Earth animals, including humans, stored in a seed bank. On our journeys, we may find suitable planets on which we could seed populations of Earth organisms to see how they adapt to live with the indigenous creatures and environment. At this early stage of the development of Planet Ecco, it is probably not wise to introduce Earth biota. The ecosystem is frail, still developing, but as members of our ship's crew, I would love to see your suggestions in our comments board. Should we introduce seed species to this world? If so, what do you think would work and why? Until next time, like and subscribe to continue receiving our signal, and share if you can.